"You're not a real parent," my stepdaughter said after I co-signed her loan. Then she drained my $12,500 savings while I was hospitalized. I recovered, froze her cards, sold the apartment she lived in, and watched her cry on TikTok while packing. "You're not my dad. You're just some guy who married my mom." That's what Haley said to me, my stepdaughter, who I'd raised since she was 7, while standing in my kitchen, arms crossed, wearing the hoodie I bought her last Christmas and sneakers that cost more than my monthly groceries. I just co-signed her student loan the week before. I don't know what hit me harder, the coldness in her voice, or the way she said it with no hesitation, like she'd been waiting to say it, like she believed it would sting more if it came out clean. My wife, ex-wife now, was in the background, silent, as always, not stepping in, not defending, not even blinking. "You think you're my dad because you paid a few bills?" Haley continued, smirking. "Newsflash, Mike, biology doesn't lie. I didn't say anything. Not then. Because if I opened my mouth, I was afraid of what might come out." What she didn't know was that I had just gotten out of the hospital 2 days earlier. A week-long stay after collapsing at work. A mild stroke, the doctors said, brought on by stress and high blood pressure. Years of grinding, giving, sacrificing. And while I was lying in a hospital bed, she was draining my account. $12,500. Gone. Savings I had quietly built. Emergency money. Rainy day cushion. Every dollar a small victory I never talked about. Gone. And now here she was, in my house, telling me I wasn't real. "I'll be out soon," she said, tapping her phone, already mid-text to someone I'd probably never meet. "Don't stress." Then she added, almost like an afterthought, "You can't kick me out anyway." Mom said the apartment's in her name. That part made me laugh. Really laugh. The kind of hollow, tired laugh that comes when you've already made your decision and you're just waiting for the moment to drop it. Because that apartment? It wasn't in her mother's name. It was mine. Paid off. Quietly. Over 10 years. While they laughed. While they borrowed. While they posted family selfies and cropped me out. She had no idea what was coming. And by the time she found out, it would already be too late. I wasn't her real parent? That line kept playing in my head for days. Over and over. Like a skipping record. Not real. Not enough. Just the guy who paid. She said it so casually, too. Like she hadn't been living under my roof for the past 11 years. Like I hadn't sold my truck to pay for her braces. Like I hadn't pulled double shifts to afford her private dance school after her mom, my wife, lost her job and said, "She needs this. Mike, please." Let me rewind for a second. I met Claire when I was 32. She had a daughter, Haley, who was 6 at the time. Shy, serious, always watching people like she was waiting for someone to disappoint her. I liked her. I still remember the first time she fell asleep on my chest during movie night. I didn't move for 2 hours. Just let her sleep. Claire said she hadn't done that with anyone since her real dad left. Yeah, left. The guy disappeared to Arizona and sent Christmas cards for 3 years before vanishing for good. And I was the one who showed up at every recital. I helped with math homework, packed lunches, picked her up from sleepovers when other parents were late. I was there. But none of that mattered. Because to Haley, and eventually to Claire too, I was just convenient. And when things are convenient, they're disposable. It started subtly. Gaslighting in lowercase. Claire would forget to pay the water bill, and I'd cover it, again. "I thought you took care of it," she'd say. When Haley cracked the screen on her MacBook and I hesitated on replacing it, she rolled her eyes and said, "If it were your real kid, you'd fix it in a second." Then came the loan. Haley got into some fancy grad school in New York. Claire cried. She made it, Mike. Can you believe it? Except Haley had maxed out her student aid and needed a cosigner for the remainder. Claire didn't qualify. Credit wrecked. Guess who did? I hesitated. For 3 days. Thought about it. Called my bank. Asked questions. And Claire? She weaponized silence. Slept in the guest room. Wouldn't answer texts. Haley barely looked up from her phone at dinner. Then I got sick. I collapsed in the break room at work. Taken to the ER. Admitted. A mild stroke, they said. Caused by stress. I was 43. While I was hooked to machines, they took my wallet. They didn't steal it, no. That would have been too obvious. But my debit card was in my nightstand, and Claire knew the PIN. And Haley? She had access to the shared online account. I gave her a card when she went to undergrad, just for emergencies. I came home and noticed something strange. My online banking app wouldn't log in. Password reset. Weird. I tried calling Claire. No answer. Haley didn't reply either. Then I called the bank directly. My savings, $12,500, was gone. In 5 days. Claire later said it was 4 emergencies. That the water heater broke. That Haley needed to pay her rent. That the cat had surgery. We didn't have a cat. When I confronted Claire, she didn't even blink. Do you know how stressful it was for us while you were in the hospital? She said. I did what I had to do. And Haley? I asked. What did she do? She cried. She thought you were going to die. She was scared. She spent $8,000 on Amazon while I was unconscious. She needed comfort. And then, the text came. From Haley. I know you're upset. But none of this would have happened if you planned better. I'm still figuring things out. You're supposed to help. That's what parents do. Real or not. Real or not. That's when I stopped calling. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I started digging. First, I called the loan company. Haley had missed 2 payments already. Guess who they were emailing? Me. Then, I went to the shared apartment. Claire's name wasn't on the deed. I knew that. I kept it quiet all these years, partly out of laziness, partly out of some ridiculous belief that they wouldn't screw me over if I kept giving them stability. The fridge was empty. Half of my records were gone. My emergency folder, the one with my will, account numbers, insurance policies, had been moved. Claire said she was just organizing. And then she dropped the final bomb. We think it's time Haley lives here full-time. You're not exactly healthy anymore. You should downsize. Be realistic. She said it like she was doing me a favor, like she expected me to hand over the place, keys and all. That same week, Haley posted a TikTok. She was dancing in the living room. My living room. Caption said, manifesting my main character era #blessed #girlboss. I read the comments. One stood out. Isn't this your stepdad's place? Her reply. Not anymore. The text came at 9:42 a.m. on a Wednesday. Hey Mike, I need to talk. Can we meet tonight? Just me. Not Mom. I stared at it for a full minute. Haley hadn't texted me directly since the not a real parent incident. She had posted 3 TikToks, though one of them was a get ready with me to serve main character energy set to some hyperpop nonsense, filmed in my hallway mirror. I didn't answer right away. I already had plans. Because what she didn't know was that I'd been planning this night for 2 weeks. I replied with the time and place. 7 p.m. The apartment. The one she thought was hers. She showed up late. Of course. Faux leather jacket, sunglasses, and iced coffee in hand despite it being dark outside. She looked around like a stranger in a hotel lobby. Like she was still testing to see if she could own the space by posture alone. I know things have been tense, she started. But I think we can find a solution that works for both of us. Solution? I asked. To what, exactly? To the miscommunication. The tension. I know I messed up. I spent a little too much while you were in the hospital, but you scared me. We were under a lot of pressure. I didn't speak. I just reached under the table and placed a small black binder in front of me. Quiet. No drama. What's that? Proof, I said. Of. I opened it. Page 1. Bank statements. Transactions made on my card while I was unconscious. New clothes. $1,700 in skincare products. A $300 sushi order. 2 Uber rides to parties in Brooklyn. 1 in New Jersey. I was panicking, she said. I turned the page. A printed TikTok screenshot. Her doing a spin in the hallway. My bookshelf behind her. Captioned. He's not gone, just in the way. She gasped softly. That was a joke. Next page. The student loan bill. 2 months overdue. The credit alerts sent to my email. I didn't stop there. I reached under the table and pulled out a flash drive. Plugged it into my laptop. The screen lit up. Video clips, screenshots, voice memos. Do you want to hear what your mom told her sister about me last month? Or what you said about me in that group chat with your friends, the one called Old Man Wallet? Haley's face lost all color. Because I have it all, Haley. Every text. Every screenshot. Every digital crumb. She tried to smile. You're really doing all this over money? No. I said, flat. I'm doing this over truth. She stood up. I'm not staying here for this. That's fine, I said, calm as ice. Because you won't be staying here at all. That stopped her. I slid a folded piece of paper across the table. She unfolded it. Eviction notice. 30 days. Signed. Filed. Stamped. She laughed. You can't kick me out. Mom says it. Claire's name is not on the deed, I said. And neither is yours. I own this apartment. And I just sold it. Her jaw twitched. You're lying. No, I said. I signed the final papers yesterday. Cash buyer. Closing next week. She shook her head. You're insane. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. You said I wasn't your real parent, remember? She just stared at me. And then I went for the final strike. You told your friends I was a pathetic joke. You posted on TikTok that I was basically a bank account with opinions. I opened my phone and showed her the screenshots. Her own captions. Her own words. I stood up. You want to be the main character, Haley? Fine. You'll have to pack like one. Then I walked out. The next morning, her TikTok went viral. She was crying. Real tears. Messy mascara. A shaky voice. My stepdad just sold the apartment I've lived in for years. I have nowhere to go. This is what happens when you depend on people who pretend to care. I feel so betrayed. The comments were brutal. Some called her out. Others defended her. She turned off replies after 6 hours. But I wasn't watching for the sympathy. I was watching for the message underneath it all. Because behind every "I can't believe this" was the truth. She never thought I'd fight back. I wasn't waiting for an apology. And I definitely wasn't expecting Haley's TikTok, where she sobbed into her designer hoodie and called me toxic, to blow up overnight. 500,000 views in 2 days. The comments were split. This man kicked his daughter out? Disgusting. She drained his savings while he was in the hospital. Nah, girl. This is karma. I said nothing. No response. Just waited. Because I had something better. That same week, I built a page. Called it simply. I was the parent. Just that. No URL, no gimmicks. I uploaded one video. One clear message. Me, sitting in the now empty apartment. That same black binder on the table. My name is Mike. I raised a girl who wasn't mine. I paid for her school, her food, her braces. I co-signed her loan. And while I was in the hospital recovering from a minor stroke, she emptied my savings account and laughed about it on TikTok. I didn't scream. I didn't beg for sympathy. I just showed the evidence. Bank records, $12,500 drained in 5 days. Screenshots of her posts, mocking, bragging. Loan statements, unpaid, ignored. A security camera clip, her going through my drawers, copying down account numbers. And then, a side-by-side of her crying video, followed by the video of her dancing in my living room with the caption, "He's not dead, just inconvenient." I ended it with one sentence. If this is what a fake parent looks like, I'd hate to see what a real one does. I didn't share the page publicly. I didn't have to. Within hours, it exploded. Someone on Twitter posted it with, "TikTok girl crying?" Yeah. Her stepdad just dropped the receipts. 3 million views in the first day. A podcast invited me to speak. An Instagram therapist reposted the clip with, "Not all parents are toxic. Some are just used." People sent donations even though I never asked. 11 grand in the first 3 days. Meanwhile, Haley kept doubling down. Crying. Posting. Blaming boomer control freak energy. But it didn't hit the same anymore. Because people were asking questions. And one day, someone noticed something familiar in the background of her new video. "Isn't that your mom's house?" Boom. Now she was exposed for living with Claire again, the same mother who once told me, "We need your help, Mike, just for a while," while sliding Haley's credit card debt across the table like a bill I had no right to question. That's when I knew it was time to end this. So I drove there. To Claire's house. Quiet neighborhood, fake flowers by the porch, blinds drawn. I knocked. Claire opened the door in a robe, phone in hand. In the window behind her, I could see Haley, live streaming. Again. Crying. "Are you here to steal more?" Claire snapped. "No," I said calmly. "I'm here to deliver the final piece." I reached into my coat and pulled out an envelope. Handed it to her. Inside, a letter from my attorney. I consulted a lawyer and initiated legal steps regarding the financial situation. She accessed my account without permission and made several unauthorized transfers. I had screenshots, metadata, and the original PDF she never thought I'd find. She'd made one fatal mistake, leaving drafts in my laptop's autosave folder. Claire went pale. Haley came outside midstream, still filming. "He's actually suing me," she shouted to her audience. "My stepdad wants me in jail. He's ruining my life." And then, the twist I didn't plan for. A car pulled up at the curb. Black sedan. Out stepped Alex, my younger brother. We hadn't spoken in 6 years. Not since he called me soft for raising someone else's kid. He walked up to me and said, loud enough for Claire and Haley to hear, "I saw the page, Mike. My daughter follows her. She showed me everything. You did the right thing. And I'll testify if it comes to that. Haley froze midstream. What? You two? You're all turning on me? No, I said. We're just done pretending you're the victim. And with that, I left. Back to my new apartment. The one no one had keys to but me. Quiet. Minimal. Clean. That night, I placed a new nameplate on my front door. Resident. Just me. And underneath it? A QR code. It linked to the video. Because if I was going to be the villain in her story, I'd make sure the world saw the whole script. 3 weeks passed. No calls. No texts. No fake apologies. Just silence. The kind of silence that wraps around your life like a blanket and makes you realize how loud it used to be. The begging, the manipulating, the guilt-laced, were family speeches all gone. And in that silence, something settled. Not revenge. Not satisfaction. Peace. I was finally alone by design. My name was off their lives like it had been scraped from a billboard. Haley never responded to the charges. Her lawyer, public defender, from what I heard, filed a motion to negotiate. I wasn't interested. Let the process work. She wasn't going to prison, probably, but she'd carry that record. That scarlet letter of, "Oh, you're that girl," for the rest of her adult life. Employers would ask. Landlords would pause. And she'd have to explain. Over and over again. Not my problem. But there was one person left. One chapter one hadn't closed. Claire. My wife. Technically, still my wife. She hadn't filed. I hadn't either. Maybe part of me thought she'd break first. Maybe part of her thought I'd come crawling back. But after everything, the betrayal, the silence, the way she let Haley destroy me while standing in the doorway and sipping wine, there was nothing left. Until one Tuesday afternoon, I got an envelope in the mail. Claire's handwriting. Inside, one photo and one note. The photo was old. Me, Haley, and Claire at a 4th of July barbecue years ago. Haley's face smeared with ice cream, my arms around her like a shield. Claire behind us, smiling, the smile she used to use when she still believed we were building something worth protecting. The note read, "You were the best thing that ever happened to her, and I let her ruin it. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know. I remember who you were before all of this. And I'm sorry I became someone who didn't protect that version of you." There was no return address, but I already knew where she was. One of her cousins had seen her at a community center, doing part-time admin work, wearing a volunteer badge. She'd lost everything too. And maybe that was justice. Or maybe it was just reality. Either way, I didn't respond. Because some things don't need to be reopened. They need to be buried. The next morning, I submitted the divorce papers. Calmly, without drama. A week later, the buyer finalized the sale on the apartment. I got the wire confirmation, the same account Haley once emptied. Except this time, it was full. Secure. Locked. I took a deep breath and looked around my new place. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I booked a trip. One-way ticket. Tokyo. I'd always wanted to go. But there was always a reason not to. Too expensive, maybe next year. Haley's tuition comes first. No more excuses. I left the next evening with nothing but a suitcase, my passport, and the nameplate from my old apartment door. Resident. Just me. It sat in my carry-on like a trophy. A quiet reminder. And that's not the end. Because the twist? On my 3rd day in Tokyo, I checked my email. Hundreds of messages. Comments. Shares. My video had gone viral again. Someone translated it into Japanese. A teacher wrote to say he showed it to his class as a lesson on boundaries. A father said it helped him finally cut ties with his own toxic daughter. A teenage girl messaged to say, "I think my stepdad is like you. I didn't appreciate him. I'm going to tell him today." And then I saw one name I never expected. Claire. Not from her email. From Haley's. It was a forwarded message. Haley had sent it to me by mistake. The title said, "I'm sorry. Mom asked me to send you this." I opened it. Attached was a scan page from Claire's journal. It wasn't dated. Mike always puts gas in my car without saying anything. Even when he's mad. Even when we haven't spoken. It's like he still wants to protect me from the inconvenience of life. I don't deserve him. I don't think I ever did. And beneath it, Haley had added one line. I read her journal. I know now. I get it. But it's too late, isn't it? I didn't reply. But I opened a notepad and wrote exactly one sentence. Too late doesn't mean unforgivable. It just means I'm not waiting anymore. Then I closed the laptop, finished my coffee, and walked outside. The air was different here. Nobody knew my story. Nobody wanted anything from me. Nobody was waiting for me to show up with cash or comfort or silence. And for the first time in my adult life, I belonged entirely to myself.